Welcome back everyone, and as promised, we're here to talk about UFC Kansas City Fight Night and the predictions for always Arena, the main card and the prelim card. I'm gonna predict all the fights, and it's gonna be maybe longer because the prelim card is stacked, and I mean stacked. So first, starting off with the prelim card. In the women's bantamweight division, we've got Jocelyn Edwards taking on Lucy Pudilova. As Pudilova got a finish in her last fight and seemed to have led behind the 4 losses that she had, and Jocelyn Edwards on the other end only had bouts that were decision bouts, whether she won or lost those bouts. I predict Lucy Pudilova to win by decision. Moving on, in the men's bantamweight division, we've got Aaron Phillips. I should stop accents. Against Gaston Bolanos. Phillips had 3 fights in the UFC. He lost each of the fights, and the last one happened 2.5 years ago, so 2020, because maybe of the pandemic, I don't know. On the other hand, Bolanos is making his debut. He has a 100% finish rate, and 5 of the 6 finishes happened in the first round. For that reason, I'm going to predict a no-brainer, Bolanos knocking out Aaron Phillips. Knockout or technical knockout, we'll see. Strawweight division, we've got Bruna Brazil against Denise Gomez. It's the debut fight for Bruna Brazil. She's currently on a 7-fight win streak. She has a takedown accuracy of 100%. That's gonna be interesting. Pretty huge stat. It's the second fight in the UFC for Denise Gomez. She lost the first one back in September 2022 by decision. So my pick for this fight would be, predict Bruna Brazil to win by submission. Moving on, lightweight division, Lando Vannata against Daniel Zellhuber. Not sure I pronounced that right. Vannata is in the UFC since 2016. He faced many names: Tony Ferguson, Bobby Green, Charles Jourdain, just to name a few. He has 8 first-round finishes, and he can strike and wrestle. He has even wins, say the same wins by knockouts and the same wins by submission. It's even, like it's 5-4, something like that. It's even, it's balanced. So to me, he can strike and wrestle. Or just to me, maybe he cannot anymore, I don't know. Or just he's not a black belt or anything. On the other end, we got Zellhuber. Zellhuber has 7 KO wins, yet he lost his UFC debut by unanimous decision in September 2022. So I'll predict Vannata to pick up the win by submission. Moving on, strawweight division, we're back at it with Gillian Robertson against Piera Rodriguez, making her debut. No, she did not make her debut. She has a perfect record of 9-0. She won her first 2 fights in the UFC by decision, but she has 5 wins by knockout outside of the UFC. On the other hand, we've got Robertson in the UFC since 2017. She had 8 wins by submission in her career, not just in the UFC, in her career. And she faced the likes of many well-known women's fighter. We've got, she beats Molly McCann, She faced off against Priscilla Cachoeira, Tayla Santos that challenged a champion recently, and Macy Barber. As she's a veteran of sorts, or more experienced than Rodriguez, I would predict Robertson to pick up the win by submission. But there's like a scenario where Rodriguez can pick up the win by decision. So it's either Robertson by submission or Rodriguez by decision. I'm not really sure, but one of the two is more likely to happen. Moving on, light heavyweight division, Zach Cummings faces off against Ed Herman. Both are veterans. They have pretty huge record. They have hung around for a long time in the UFC. Cummings is here since 2013 and Herman is here since 2007. Sorry, yeah, and they face many names. We've got Damian Maia, Derek Bronson, Nikita Krylov, Gunnar Nelson, Trevon Giles, Santiago Ponzinibbio. So yeah, names that we'll see. Santiago Ponzinibbio was at UFC 287 actually. So yeah, they have both huge submission records. Cummings has 12 wins by submission, and Herman gets 15 wins by submission. Tough one to call because they are veterans. That can go both ways. Really, it can be a draw, it can be a split decision, it can be a submission, it can be a knockout. Really, anything goes in those kind of matches, fights. But I pick Cummings to pick up the win by decision. I think it's more likely to happen. Up next, oh, that hurts a lot. That hurts my feeling. No, not my feelings, but I'm kind of perplexed about this. I wonder a bit, because it's the men's flyweight division with the 4th ranked Brandon Royval facing off the 5th ranked Mateus Nicolau. Why it hurts? Why it's bothering me a bit? Because they are ranked, and if you listen to the previous video, the introduction video, I talked about rankings and champions. They are literally in the top 5 of their divisions, the flyweight division, the men's flyweight division, but they are on the prelim card. It's a bit weird, but I'm not gonna contest anyone's decision. That's just something I point out as weird, right? Because they are literally 4th ranked and 5th ranked of their their division. It's a bit weird to be on the prelim card, but I said it myself. It's a pretty stacked card, so I understand. Then, what I was saying, yeah. So Royval has 9 submission wins and 9 first round finishes, plus a 100% takedown accuracy. He only lost to Alejandro Pantoja and Brandon Moreno, who is the current champion of the division. On the other hand, we got Mateus Nicolau, that is on a 4-fight win streak. He can strike and wrestle here, same as I said for Lando Venata. They have pretty even number of wins in KO, in knockout and TKO, and in submissions. It's even like 5 and 4, or 4 and 4. So I'm like, okay, they can do both. So it can go both ways, either knockout or submission. But since it's the 4th ranked and the 5th ranked facing off, I'll predict Mateus Nicolau, the 5th ranked, to pick up the win by decision. I don't see a finish. No finish. Up next in the men's featherweight division, we've got Bill Algeo facing off against TJ Brown. They are both in the UFC since 2020. Algeo lost his last fight to Andre Fili by split decision back in September 2022. Brown, on the other hand, has a has 9 wins on his record by submission. Also 9 first round finishes. For that reason, I will predict Brown to pick up the win by submission. And that is it for the main card. Meaning, for the prelim card, Meaning we go to the main card. And the main card starts with a lightweight division fight. As Clay Guida faces off against Rafa Garcia. I don't speak a lot about the record, but Clay Guida has a record of 38 wins for 19 losses. No doubt he's a veteran. And he's a veteran even in the UFC, because he debuted in 2006. And he has many names on his resume. If you know a bit of MMA, I'm gonna name a few, but he beats the like of Nate Diaz, Rafael dos Anjos, who was the other one? I don't remember. It was Michael Johnson. He's been around for a very long time. So he faces off a lot of people and pick up the win. 38 wins is pretty important. And Rafa Garcia, on the other hand, debuted in 2021, so pretty new to the UFC. He has 9 wins by submission on his resume, but only 1 by knockout. 1 win by knockout. I don't see Garcia losing to a submission, but I don't see Clay Guida knocking him out. So I predict a win for Guida. That seems obvious to me. Guida, but by decision, not by a knockout and not by a submission. Next, we go to the men's bantamweight division with 9th ranked Pedro Munoz facing off 13th ranked Chris Gutierrez. Tough one to call, because Munoz has a lot of submission wins, 8 submission wins and 8 first round finishes. He's been in the UFC for almost 10 years, and the problem with that is he lost a couple of fights, his last fights, and there is the Sean O'Malley fight incident where he was poked in the eye or something like that, and the fight has been called off while they were fighting. I think it was between rounds, but Pedro couldn't continue apparently, and the fight has been called off. And I don't think there's a winner. I don't remember the decision the decision that was taken, but I don't remember being a win. I don't remember that there was a winner. And Pedro Munoz has been kind of accused and blamed of taking a way out, the easy way out. But who knows if it's real, right? But kind of a little something that makes me feel maybe, but we don't know. On the other hand, we've got Chris Gutierrez. He has 9 wins by knockout and 8 wins by decision. He only lost his debut fight in the UFC. Yeah, that's his only loss in the UFC. He had 2 other losses outside of the UFC, but in the UFC, he lost his debut back in 2018. So, tough one to call. They are ranked, so it's pretty important fight not to access to the top 10 of the division, or to remain in the top 10 of the division. So I'll predict that Gutierrez picks up the win by knockout. Up next, in the light heavyweight division, Tanner Boser faces off against Ion Cutelaba. Boser has 11 wins by knockout. But a fun fact, or trivia, put it how you want, is that he never attempted a takedown. And why is it interesting and fun? Because Ion Chutelaba, who has 12 knockout wins and 13 first-round finishes in the first-round finishes, how do I say? He's built differently. Yeah, he lives like a madman. He's a monster, and he simply doesn't care. He's coming off several losses, but it doesn't matter because this man lives to fight. The best example of that is when he lost to Magomed Ankalaev in less than a minute by knockout, and months after that, when he had a rematch, because he asked for a rematch, he got knocked out again. So this man really doesn't care. No, he's not at the end of his career, so he literally doesn't care. And with Tanner Bowser never attempting a takedown and having 11 wins by knockout, they're gonna eat each other. They're gonna aim for the head, for sure. But I still predict Kutelaba by knockout or TKO. We'll have to see. Next, we stay in the light heavyweight division as 13th ranked Dustin Jacoby faces undefeated 12-0 Azamat Murzakanov. Jacoby has a good record, 11 wins by knockout, 11 first-round finishes. He just note this, he took a huge break from the UFC between 2012 and 2020, and he's coming off a loss to Khalil Roundtree Jr. by split decision, but still a loss. On the other hand, we've got Murzakanov, 9 wins by knockout, 8 wins are first round finishes, and obviously he won his first 2 fights in the UFC by knockout. So for that, I predict Murzakanov to pick up the win by knockout or technical knockout. Moving on, co-main event, men's featherweight division, 14th ranked Edson Barboza faces off Billy Quarantillo. Barboza is a veteran, also in the UFC, has many fights. His record is 22 wins for 11 losses, so he's been around for a long time too, and he fights for a very long time as well. He has 13 wins by knockout. Yet he lost a couple of fights, and the last one was March 2022, so more than a year ago. Billy Quarantillo has 8 wins by knockout, and he's coming off a win. By knockout as well. So I predict Billy Quarantillo to pick up the win by decision. Yeah, because I think it's only Gaethje that knocked out Edson Barboza, just in Gaethje, and it was at lightweight, not at featherweight. So I don't see Edson Barboza being knocked out. So I'll go with the decision. And finally, the main event fight, a 5-round fight in the men's featherweight division. Yeah, we stay in the men's featherweight division. Number 2 ranked Max Blessed Holloway faces off against number 4 ranked Almighty Arnold Allen. Now, to start with, always the favorite in the in betting for betting odds is the favorite, and I'm gonna tell you right away, he's the one I predict to win. Despite that he lost by unanimous decision to the champion in his last fight, he has 10 knockout wins, and one important thing, he has never been knocked down in his career. Crazy. When you know his record is 23 wins, 7 losses, but he's never been knocked down. Never. On the other hand, we've got Arnold Allen. Arnold Allen, I like him a lot, but and he has the resume, like he's on 12 fight win streak. Since he's in the UFC, he had 10 fights. He won all of the fights. All of them. But I don't think it's enough. Because Max Holloway is just better. And we know he's probably the best boxer in the UFC. He has the most strikes landed in UFC. Whether it's in total or just in one fight. I think it's total he has more than 2,000 strikes landed, and in a fight I think it was 600, 700. That's crazy. So for that reason, not that I don't like Arnold Allen's chances, he could possibly win because he's been undefeated since undefeated in the UFC. He has one loss actually, but it was outside of the UFC. In the UFC he's undefeated. But I still feel like it's not enough and that Max Holloway is going to pick up the win. How? I don't see Arnold Allen being knocked out. So I'll go with Holloway winning by decision. Now, if Holloway wins by decision, the question is, since he lost 3 times to the champion, Alexander Volkanovski, is he going to face him a 4th time? Plus, you have to know that the last time those two fought, Alexander Volkanovski and Max Holloway, Alexander Volkanovski got a unanimous decision win. So is it really something to do? I don't know. But we'll have to see. And that's it for UFC Kansas City. I'll thank you for listening, and I'll see you for the next one. Bye.